everybody. By the power of the internet and the curious minds come together. It is Thursday, March 23rd, 2023. This is the Opinionated Idiot live show, and I am your host, Brian. And I all want you to sit back, plug in, relax, and be opinionated. How's everybody doing? I see the chat is getting crazy there. I love it. I love it. I love it. Let's see who's in the house. Let's see who is it. I'll get this right. I'll get this right. I promise I'll get this right. Let's see. How's my camera? Because I switched some of the settings on it. Does it look all right? Give me a thumbs up. Amber's in the house. How you doing, Amber? Heather is here. How's everybody doing? Dr. Bob is in the house. Crazy P is here. We have O'Brien in the house. Hello from South Florida. Mandy Joe is here. Good to see you as well. Who else we got? Candy's here. Candy is in the house. Hello. Who else we got? Who else we got? Who else we got? Who else we got? Danielle is here. Hey, Danielle, how are you? I don't know if I like this camera setting. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know if I like it. Newman is here. 25. He says, get to the chopper. Get to the chopper. Does it look good? Good. I'm trying out some new settings because I used to be kind of like in this setting. And I just figured out that the aspect ratio on my camera has been wrong for about 2 years. I had it in like 3:2 aspect ratio, and it really should be in 16:9, which would fill the screen like this. So good evening, everybody. Another massel, a bit hazy. All right. Is it hazy when I go like this? From here, is it a little hazy? Let me turn up my light. Was that a little better? No, it doesn't look good. Should I go back? Should I go back to my old settings? Maybe I'll go back to my old settings on the next show. This looks better? Good. Hello, Danielle. How are you? Good to see you. Good to see you. All right, guys. Well, there's obviously been an update. Wow. In the Stephen Smith case, ever since Alex Murdaugh was convicted and sent to jail. Now this has kind of stirred up some media buzz and some controversy and major updates. Major updates. So I got a little bit of context here I want to read to you guys. If anybody doesn't know what's going on, there's a huge connection to the Murdaugh family, Buster Murdaugh and his younger brother, and regarding Stephen Smith's death. And if anybody doesn't know, let me read to you what we're talking about. So with the arrest of Alex Murdaugh, Stephen Smith's case gained national attention and was featured in a 48-hour national, in the national 48-hour spotlight with an episode on 48 Hour of the Murdaugh Mysteries in 2021. Smith was found dead on a road near the family's home, meaning the Murdaugh's home, in 2015, lying in the middle of the street with blunt force trauma to his head. When a Netflix documentary was released, rumors that Buster Murdaugh and his younger brother were potentially involved in Smith's death, but no charges were brought against anyone in the family and no suspects were named. Since the conviction of Alex Murdaugh, it is now being revealed that Sandy Smith, Stephen Smith's mom, back in 2016, wrote a letter to the FBI. And I have that letter. We're going to go through that this evening, hoping that the FBI agency would take over the case from the South Carolina authorities because of potential connection and corruption of the Murdaugh family. So very, very interesting stuff here. And we're going to get into this. Let me just get a sip of water here. All right, guys. I have some, screen does look smaller now, is what you want. Well, I wanted to widen the screen, but I don't want it to look hazy. It's before on this view here, I used to have these kind of black lines because the aspect ratio was weird, but I kind of like this view here. It's wide it's wide enough, and it doesn't look strange. But we'll roll on with this. We'll keep going through, and what does it say? Oh my God, you have that sweet letter. You're awesome, right? Yeah, I have the letter. It was posted by TMZ. We'll get through it and read through it here, and we'll just keep moving on through the show. Oh, I wanted to let you guys know before we go into the show this evening. So I have some format changes. I'm still going to stream Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I was thinking about this. So Sunday nights we'll do for kind of like open topic. Maybe we'll do Idaho, we'll do Stephen Smith, or any potential cases that come up. So that's kind of like a free forum night. I'm going to do on Tuesdays is going to be Serial Killer Tuesday, where we go back and look at infamous serial killers, and we can go over the past case, discuss those. I have the next one we're going to do on Tuesday is Ted Bundy. You're not going to want to miss that show. And then on Thursday, what I'm going to do, because I like kind of formatted shows, we'll do a throwback Thursday, and we'll go back and look at some of the kind of weird macabre cases like Stephen Daniels, Grant Amato. We can go over and discuss those types of cases on those nights. So, I wanted to format the show. We'll roll with that for a little while. We'll see how things go and pick up with that type of format. And, it gives everybody a little bit of different pieces of content. Like if you can't make every show, maybe you just like the serial killer shows, or maybe you just like the Throwback Thursday shows, or Sunday open forum. So I think that's what we're going to roll with for now. If you guys like that idea, let me know in the chat. And I think it's going to be cool and give some structure and some format to the show, and kind of I can plan things out a week ahead and put all the notifications up for you guys. So anyway, we're going to move forward with talking about Stephen Smith. Let's pull up this first. Let me pull up this first piece of media here. We're going to play a video first to give everybody a little bit of a background. Obviously, we know Stephen Smith from the Long Crime Network has now been ruled a homicide. At first, so now it's been ruled a homicide. Very interesting with the timing of it. Now that Alex Murdaugh's conviction, and now it starts to make you think. Were they kind of maybe waiting for this conviction to come out and change this news to a homicide? But obviously, this is going to be reopened. Stephen's body is now being exhumed, and they will perform another autopsy. So let's check out this 9-minute video, and then we'll get to some articles as well.
Was found dead in the middle of a Hampton County, South Carolina road. Investigators are officially calling his death a homicide, not a hit and run.
Crazy.
I'm Anjanette Levy, and thanks for joining us here on Law and Crime. The pathologist who performed Stephen Smith's autopsy back in 2015 said that his death was the result of a hit and run, but investigators and even the Hampton County coroner never believed that. Validation came late Tuesday for Stephen's mother when the head of the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division called her lawyers and said he and his agents have always believed that Stephen was murdered. I spoke with Sandy Smith's lawyer about the call. Ronnie, tell me a little bit about what happened when Chief Keel called you yesterday.
Yeah, we got an amazing phone call yesterday. When the state's top cop calls you and says that, look, if you guys are planning to exhume that body because you feel like you need to convince us at SLED that there's something more, something different here than a hit and run, you don't need to do that. So that was an amazing phone call. And he communicated to us that SLED is on this investigation, that they do not see it as a simple hit and run, and that they are putting resources towards it, especially now that those resources are freed up after the Murdaugh murder trials.
Great question.
Ronnie, were you and Eric on this call together, and were you surprised? Because a lot of times law enforcement will tell people, hey, get out of our investigation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was just a new spirit of cooperation. Now, in the Murdaugh financial crimes, we had cooperated fully with SLED, and we certainly shared with them all the information that we found about his financial crimes. And
I'm heading to my second laser appointment. I saw results after the very first treatment.
Assisted in the investigation in that fashion. So I do think that helped broker some spirit of cooperation between our firm and SLED. So there's some built-in credibility there. But to get a call from the top cop who shares that information was really incredible and very uplifting for the Smith family.
Ronnie, I spoke with a spokesperson for SLED on Tuesday night, and I told her what Eric Bland had said, that they believe there's a small circle of people who have information about Stephen Smith's death. And now some of those people may actually feel more comfortable coming forward now that Alex Murdaugh is in prison and has been convicted of 2 murders. However, there's some reporting out there that says that SLED, according to sources, is not focused on the Murdaughs. So do we know if there's any type of connection there? We're kind of looking at this and wondering.
Yeah, that was stated. It was stated that they didn't feel the environment was conducive for people to come forward and speak openly and honestly with the pall of the Murdaugh trials and investigation ongoing. And the sense was that now that kind of that Murdaugh hold on the community is broken, that maybe people would be more forthright and forthcoming. Now, I don't know what that has to do with persons of interest. There was nothing in the communication with Chief Keel to indicate that any Murdaugh was a person of interest or a target. So we didn't gather that at all. What we took away was that the resources were thin and that the community was kind of maybe a little closed-lipped and tightened down because of all the scrutiny surrounding the whole Murdaugh debacle.
Ronnie, the SLED spokesperson told me that they've always believed that Stephen's death was a homicide. That's why they opened the investigation into his death to try to figure out what happened. So is that what Chief Keel relayed to you?
Yeah, he said that we didn't have to convince him that SLED did not see this as a hit and run. And I know I've reviewed some of the material from the investigative file that took place from the original investigation, and I could see some of the tension in that file, a tense exchange between SLED agents and the pathologist who did the original autopsy. It described this tense interaction where they were asking questions and kind of getting answers that you could tell from the notes were not satisfactory, that they didn't accept then that this was just a hit and run. But it feels like the investigation got stuck between agencies. Is it a vehicular matter that's the jurisdiction of the Highway Patrol? Is it a murder that's the jurisdiction of SLED? I think somewhere between that and all the resources being diverted to Murdaugh kind of got this investigation derailed on the front end.
Ronnie's law partner, Eric Bland, talked to me a little bit about what Chief Keel said led the investigators to open a case looking into Stephen's death.
He said was he did confirm that there was a piece of evidence that they discovered during the investigation of Alex Murdaugh murders. And he said that he didn't tell me what it was. And I said to him, well, I can only assume that it was maybe some kind of phone evidence or something on a computer. And he did not refute that, but he didn't confirm it for me. And so he said, I appreciate, you willing to work with us.
And I asked Eric Bland what he believes happened to Stephen Smith, how he believes Stephen was murdered.
I think it was a hate crime.
So the thing that's very interesting about this is that, going back over the evidence now that this has been, looked over again, it was, I guess, the placing of the body and how the body was positioned in the road, where normally if there was any type of hit and run, in a lot of those type of incidences, that someone would be essentially thrown out of their shoes. And it was just very weird how his shoes was placed back on his body. So a lot of these questions are being raised again. I mean, I'm sure that you guys are up on this case, but I don't know. It's very strange, knowing now that Alec is in jail for murder. And now, this murder being literally, less than miles away from the Murdaugh home. And we know pretty much the crime spree that his dad was on. But this is very strange. And, obviously, Buster has been named, as I guess by the media, a potential suspect, potential person of interest, but has not been obviously officially charged in any of this. But it's just very strange. And I think this is why this has kind of reopened the case. and that's why we're seeing this inquiry.
I hate to say it, but I think you had a 19-year-old openly gay young man in the low country of
agree.
South Carolina, which is not common. It's not like he's in New York City or in Ohio.
Hey, Gina,
where
how
you're
are you?
from.
Thanks for joining the
And
show.
I think there may have been a hate crime, that he was killed because he was an openly gay kid, whether it was because he had a relationship that somebody didn't want exposed, or he had done something to somebody with his lifestyle. I do not know. He was somewhat secretive, as Sandy has said on TV. He did not disclose a lot of his lifestyle. He said he was dating a very important man, is all he disclosed to Sandy, and that he was going to go away with that man the following weekend, Anjanette.
How do you believe Stephen died? I mean, he had a dislocated shoulder and head trauma.
There was supposedly blue flake metallic on the back of his head, which,
And that's interesting. They're going to say that indicated a hit with a baseball bat.
Easily could have been tested and can be tested still if there's some there, whether it's automobile paint or it's from an aluminum bat. Baseball bats have flaking blue paint. I think it was blunt force trauma. Look, he's lying in the middle of the road. His shoes would have been blown off. They were loosely tied. I've seen the autopsy photos.
Ronnie, what was Sandy's reaction when you called her and told her about what Chief Keel had said?
I mean, imagine you're the mother who's lost a child, and every fiber in you tells you that this was not a hit and run. This was not an accident. So 8 years later, finally, the police call you and
Listen, everybody, we got 40 people watching and only 24 likes. Let's get that up over. Let's get that to 40. Let's get it to 40, guys. I need my mods to work the room for me. Let's get these likes up. I want 50 likes tonight so we can get this stream out.
say,
Just
"We
takes
believe
2
you.
seconds to
We're
smash that
throwing
like button.
resources at this. We're with you." She was elated.
So where do we go from here?
We go forward with the exhumation. I mean, that is a critical next step.
Thank
I don't know
you
what
for
SLED does in their
upvoting. Let's keep it
investigation.
going.
They're not SLED. Thank God to the folks at GoFundMe who raised the money to provide the resources. We've contacted experts locally and nationwide who are willing to perform this service for us. So it has to start with the what, right? What happened to Stephen, and what happened to him is going to be determined by that autopsy.
Is there any accountability for what happened back in 2015? Dr. Aaron Presnell, who conducted the autopsy on Stephen Smith, said that he died as a result of a hit and run. This was a pedestrian versus vehicle. She labeled the manner of death as undetermined, not a homicide. And some of the investigators, if you go through the file, said at the time, she kind of blew them off and said, this is not my job to figure
No
out what
problem.
happened to Stephen. It's yours.
Yeah, so now you're getting into the question of the who's, and we're going to stick with the what's for right now. So what happened to Stephen is the first domino that needs to fall. Who has responsibility, I think is a downstream question. And then the ultimate question that we all want the answer to is why. Why would someone brutally kill this this beautiful young man in the fashion that he was killed? So those are the questions, and that's the order of those questions.
It's important to note that SLED opened its investigation into Stephen Smith's death after discovering some information in the course of the investigation into the murders of Paul and Maggie Murdaugh. Now, that does not mean that there's necessarily a connection between Stephen's murder and the Murdaugh family. Earlier this week, Buster Murdaugh issued a statement denying any involvement in the death of his high school classmate, Stephen Smith. Buster had been talked about in online circles and mentioned in documentaries as possibly a suspect since the Murdaugh name came up throughout the course of the investigation. But Buster says he had nothing to do with it.
All right. So that's a little bit of an update to kind of catch everybody up to what's going on right now, where we're at in this case. And there's been a lot of articles here that has come out. What I want to do before we get too ahead of ourselves, just to let you guys know that there has been, where is it? I wish I could backstage a bunch of multiple tabs instead of having to queue them up all the time. So right here from the New York Post back on yesterday actually was posted, Stephen Smith's mom cited Buster Murdaugh as a possible suspect in son's death in a letter to the FBI. So Stephen Smith's mother wrote, hang on a second. Let me just bring this up to this look. Oh, I think it's going to be better if I go here. All right. So it's saying Stephen Smith's mom wrote wrote a letter to the FBI in 2016 mentioning Buster Murdaugh as a possible suspect in her son's suspicious death. And she also noted the duo's alleged secret romantic relationship. In the letter published Monday by Fitz News, Sandy Smith accused local authorities of covering up a critical evidence in order to protect Alex Murdaugh's surviving son. Stephen, 19, was found dead on July 8th, 2015, close to the 1,700-acre Moselle estate where Maggie and Paul Murdaugh would be murdered by Alex 6 years later. It's just insane, the coincidences here. It's crazy to think about this. I don't know if this is coincidence or there's something here that they need to look into, but this is nuts. Police initially said that the death appeared to be a homicide, and we know the ties of the Murdaugh family to the local authorities. Obviously, we know the long history of being in the judicial system of that family in that area for like almost 3 decades. So, having those political ties, could pull some strings too. But, again, I'm just alleging all of this. I'm not saying this is all solid information. The grieving mother, who has long disputed the death ruling, said that the Murdaugh family involved themselves in Stephen's death nearly immediately. Quote, the first call my family received after the murder was from authorities notifying us of Stephen's death, Sandy wrote. The second came very quickly as the same morning from solicitor Ralph Murdaugh. In fact, he called my ex-husband's cell as we waited in the police station for a positive identification. He said he heard of the case and was interested in working pro bono as a liaison between the family and the investigators. This is crazy. Though confused about how Ralph found out about the death so quickly, the Smith family accepted the offer from the brother of the double killer, Alex Murdaugh. But Randolph allegedly ditched the family in the following weeks. Within days of Stephen's death, multiple teenagers approached his twin sister, Stephanie, to claim Buster and Paul were responsible for the murder, the letter says. Wow. Another classmate told Stephen's older brother, Christopher, that he was present for the attack and watched Buster kill Stephen with a baseball bat. And I guess that's referring to the silver paint that could allegedly be on the back of Stephen Smith's head. He claimed it was because Stephen was gay, Sandy wrote. The witness said they were out smashing mailboxes when they came upon Stephen and Buster and seized the opportunity. The mother believed Buster, now 26, was carrying on a secret romantic relationship with her son, in a rumor repeated by former classmates and exposed on a Netflix documentary. Stephen had alluded to dating someone from a prominent family in the county who was hiding his sexuality, but never revealed their name, his mom said. Buster, who on Monday unequivocally denied vicious rumors that he was involved in the murder, dumped the car that he was allegedly driving the night of the murder, which police failed to recover, the letter says. Sandy pointed out other inconsistencies in the police investigation and accused officers of deliberately derailing the case. I was approached in September of 2015 by a gentleman claiming to know about the criminal case decades ago, but was swept under the rug to protect different members of the Murdaugh family, Samley said, without further speculation. This came to no surprise. I see history repeating itself with my son. No one here is trying to solve our case. Officials announced Tuesday they were investigating Stephen's death as a homicide and plan to look for the teen's killer after exhuming the body for more clues. Wow. This is really groundbreaking stuff. And I think, now, like I said, with that conviction of Alec, this is starting to really raise some questions about, what is going on. Is this like a crime spree family? Like what's going on? So what do you guys think? Do you think this potentially that Buster could be involved in this? Let me know in the chat. I'm just going to look at the chat here. Raggedy says, I hope after all this that Buster deserves the treatment we're all giving him. Amber says, let's see. Okay, but were they only a prominent family? O'Brien saying he doesn't buy it. And let's see. Nothing concrete we know of yet. They were generally the most prominent family by far, Amber. And then Chris is saying, I need to know more. Yeah, this is crazy. Before I go on and read the letter that Sandy Smith wrote to the FBI, I got a couple of more articles here that I want to bring up. You guys are doing a great job in the chat. If I can get this up to 40 likes, it'll be really, really good. What I want to show you guys first, I'm really excited about this. I got this in the mail yesterday, and it's actually one of my mugs. And unfortunately, I'm probably not going to be able to get this to zoom in because I don't have my zoom, but actually here, you can see it here. So this is one of the Opinionated Idiot mugs. The coffee mugs are here. I love it. It's really great. If the logo's perfect for when you're sipping coffee. And on Sunday night, I'm going to give this very mug away to a lucky subscriber in the room. So we'll do a contest on Sunday night when we come back and do our show on Brian Koberger. So I'm going to give this away on Sunday night to a lucky viewer. And if anybody's interested, I do have a store. If you're interested in buying any of my merch, it does help support the channel. I have mugs available. I have t-shirts, hats, beanies, and I have stickers available too. And what I'll do for you guys, if you're interested, I'll leave the link down here below in the chat. And if anybody's interested, you can grab some Opinionated merch over there. I'm going to be making some more merch. I might actually be switching distributors as well. But feel free, grab a coffee mug. You can be opinionated in the morning. But I just wanted to show you guys the store over there. I got some stickers and hats and beanies and stuff like that. Different colors in the shirts. I have black, gray, white, and you can go from there. Feel free. So moving along here, let's look up. Danielle says she loves the mug. Yeah, it came out really good. I think it came out really, really good. It's a great little mug. So I'm not sure if I'm going to stay with Spring, but I may go to a different distributor. But feel free if you guys want to grab a mug or whatever, order one up. I dropped the link there in the I dropped the link there in the chat. Okay, so what do I have next? I have, this is really interesting too. Before we read that letter. Okay, let's see. Give me 2 seconds. I just got to check something really quick. Oh, by the way, guys, I'm at 2906 subscribers. We're so close to 3,000 subscribers. We're getting there, guys. I appreciate that. I appreciate all of you. You guys are doing a fantastic job coming over, interacting on the shows, and getting this channel out there. And it's growing. It's growing, and it's growing fast. So going back to the New York Post, I'm going to not say this word because I probably would get blanked on. I'll probably get blanked on YouTube for it. But a blank kit examination was ordered for the Murdaugh linked Stephen Smith's falling death. So it goes, investigators probing the 2015 death of Stephen Smith ordered a blank kit examining or an R kit examining the victim's body, an uncommon move for what is proportionally a traffic accident death, according to a recent report. The 19-year-old South Carolina nursing student's body was found near Murdaugh family property, but despite initial officers on the scene reporting the death appeared to be a homicide, and the autopsy ruled it a hit and run. Mike Deacon, a now retired corporal in the South Carolina Highway Patrol, told News Nation it was the first time he had heard of an R kit examination ordered for a death in a traffic collision. This is strange. There's a lot more to this case. Something's going on here. This, to me, it's just weird. There's a lot of weird things going on in this case. The examination was reportedly ordered within 13 hours of discovery of Smith's remains. So was this a scorned lover that had killed him? Is this the order? Is this why the order of the R kit? To see if there was any potential sexual relationship before this death or this murder. Maybe they're trying to find something like that. It's sad. I completely believe. I completely agree. I hope he gets justice too. It's really sad. Hunter Soup. Hello, everyone. Hello to you. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe, hit that bell notification and the thumbs up button. We really would appreciate it. So moving on. Asked if we had seen such a move before, Duncan said, when it comes to traffic accidents, never. So this is strange. This was the very first time. I did not have an understanding of why it was being ordered. We were not notified until later that it had been ordered. He told host Ashley Banfield, everybody's favorite. So no, I have no answers for you as to why they would order a R kit for a what is suspected as a hit and run, which wasn't, but I will never understand that. Duncan, the supervisor for the unit, said that his crew called off the case around the time that the R kit was ordered. I was puzzled and confused from the start to when we actually got finally picked up the case. Why weren't we given the opportunity to be part of it from the beginning? He said. He added that investigators were never given any information regarding the results of the R kit by the time he retired. The South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, SLED, reopened the case to 19-year-old Stephen Smith while investigating the murders of Maggie and Paul Murdaugh. Wow, so this was actually reopened during that investigation. There's something here, guys. I definitely feel like there's something here. Disgraced legal scion Alex Murdaugh was convicted earlier this month of killing wife Maggie and son Paul. Days later, SLED announced Smith's death is a homicide investigation, although it has been yet disclosed what additional evidence was uncovered. There's something going on here, guys. They would just not rule this as a homicide. And now knowing, Alec being found guilty of 2 counts of murder and sent to jail for the rest of his life, this just opens up a new case. The Murdaugh family name was brought up by the officers many times in the early part of the investigation into Smith's death. According to the local outlets, Fitz News, which was reported, the family was never included in early police reports. No one from the family was ever interviewed about Smith's passing. Murdaugh's surviving son, Buster, was a classmate of Smith who was gay. Buster was never formally been linked to his death, and no evidence has been presented associated with him. However, he recently released a statement denouncing defamatory comments and rumors. And that's definitely something that we're not doing here on this show. We're just reporting on it. I am not saying that Buster is involved in this. I just find it very strange that there is a lot of coincidences around this. There's something here, in my opinion. We have circulated locally since 2015, in which suggested he had a secret relationship with Smith and he wanted to silence him. I mean, that's just frivolous. I mean, that's just, there's no, if you have no evidence, you can't go around and say that just because his father, is now convicted. These baseless rumors of my involvement with Stephen and his death are false. I unequivocally deny any involvement in his death, and my heart goes out to the Smith family. And his statement read, Smith's body was found in July 2015 in the middle of the road, not far from the Murdaugh family sprawling Mosul estate, with a large wound to the right side of his head. The official police narrative of Smith's death was he was struck while walking up the road because his car had run out of gas. The car was discovered over 3 miles away, where his body was found with a wallet inside and the gas cap open. A coroner determined the teen likely suffered a head injury when he was struck by a semi-truck's mirror as a vehicle passed, the Associated Press reported, a theory which has been since questioned and debunked by various investigators. A lawyer looking into the case, Ronnie Richard, recently told reporters, there are no skid marks around his body. There are no vehicular debris found, and loosely tied shoes were still on his feet. And I talked about that. That was something that was just very strange about the placement of his shoes. If someone was hit that hard, you got to think at 60, 70, 80 miles an hour, 50, let's just say even 40. I mean, that would knock you out of your shoes. It is our job today to launch a new investigation into his death in hopes of finding the real answers. It's going to go on to say Smith's mother, Sandy Smith, wrote a 2016 letter to the FBI that the Murdaugh family quickly injected itself into the 2015 investigation, according to Fitz News. The first call my family received after the murder was from authorities notifying of Steve's death, Smith wrote in the letter. The second, I'm not gonna read this because we kind of already did this, just requoting the articles that I had read, but we're gonna go over that letter just before we kind of wrap up the stream here. This is crazy. I mean, this is a lot of coincidence going on here, guys. What do you guys think? Do you think there could be potential involvement? Is there enough to say that? All right, let's look at some of the chatty chats here. Some of the older Murdaugh men make me suspicious. I'm not so sure about Buster. Exactly. His phone was still in his pocket too, and it doesn't make any sense at all that he got hit by anything. I don't trust any of them, O'Brien says. But why would the gas be open to make it look like he checked to see if the fuel gauge is false? So that's telling you something really. Yeah, that's kind of weird too. Like, I've run out of gas a million times, and not a million, but probably, a handful of times in my life. And like, I've never left the gas cap open. Maybe, and the only thing I'm saying is, and I don't know if there's any people down in the South, maybe that's something they teach you in driver's ed down there, that if you ever run out of gas, keep your gas cap open to kind of signal distress, and that your car won't be like towed away or anything to say, oh, wow, this person may be running out of gas. I'm not sure. I'm just kind of speculating there. Mandy saying, I wonder what the speed limit is. I bet all the street signs have probably been stolen. Yeah, I don't know. Buster seemed a lot like his dad on the stand. I got to say that when he was on the stand, he did a favor in his dad. He did favor his dad in his demeanor. Gina's saying, I thought they were doing a SA kit. Doesn't mean they already know it was not a car accident. And if it's private property, I doubt they have a speed limit signs. I don't think it was on private property. It was on a public road. Rat Hobo saying, no, not enough to say Buster. It's Alex, Randy, and John Maven that's questionable behavior historically. And why would Alec offer his services to the mother? Yeah, that's really strange too. That's a good point about the gas cap being open. I think people are just kind of agreeing with the gas cap theory. It's a little weird. And Heather saying 100% believe there is involvement. It quite possibly could be. And then Anita thinks that it's a cover up by Buster's family. I'm hoping they found evidence on Paul or Maggie or Alex's phones. That could be it too. Firefly is asking, did everyone see Buster's statement about the rumor of his involvement? I do have that article. Let's pull that up right now. Good segue right there. I appreciate that. Let's see. So Buster Murdaugh releases statement on death of Stephen Smith as family searches for answers. See how that all flows? Did you see that flow? That's pretty good, huh? That's pretty good. Let me just go to this view right here. I'll get it at some point. I want to get the article. Here we go. Okay, let's look at this article here. The family of Stephen Smith, who died on a road near the home of the disgraced Murdaugh family, wants to exhume his body to aid the investigation of a cold case. Now Buster Murdaugh, the son of the convicted murderer Alex Murdaugh, is speaking about Smith's case. He says, I have tried my best to ignore the vicious rumors about my involvement in Stephen Smith's tragic death that continues to be published in the media as I grieve over a brutal murder of my mother and brother. Murdaugh said in a statement about Smith, one of his high school classmates, I love them so much and I miss them terribly. Murdaugh testifies on the behalf of his father, Alex Murdaugh, who was convicted earlier this month of killing his wife, Maggie, and younger son, Paul, in 2021. Alex Murdaugh was sentenced to life in prison and is appealing his murder conviction. The case gained national attention and was featured in a 48 Hours episode, The Murdaugh Mysteries, in 2001. Smith was found dead on a road near the family home in 2015, lying in the middle of the street with blunt force trauma to his head, 48 Hours reported. The Netflix documentary released a conjunction with the trial, revealed attention to several other mysterious deaths in a small town, including that of Smith. According to the Netflix documentary, rumors swirled in the town that Buster Murdaugh and his younger brother were potentially involved in Smith's death, but no charges were brought against anyone in the family and no suspects were named. That's going to be really careful in that they don't get sued. Buster Murdaugh said in his statement that before and during and after this father trial, he had been targeted and harassed by the media following of this story. This has gone on far too long, he said. These baseless rumors of my involvement in Stephen and his death are false. I unequivocally deny any involvement of his death, and my heart goes out to the Smith family. The investigation of Smith's death was reopened in 2021 while police were investigating the death of Paul and Maggie. Smith family is able to request a permit to exhume the body in order to get independent autopsy. They started a GoFundMe earlier this month to raise money for the process, which can cost around $7,000, according to Smith's mother, Sandy Smith, who started the fundraiser. They did not name Murdaugh in the description of their fundraiser. We need a new, unbiased look at the body and an accurate determination of the cause of death based on the facts. There is no debris in the road, and the injuries were not consistent with a hit and run. Smith's family wrote on the GoFundMe page, the fundraiser has pulled in more than, $65,000, far surpassed its goal of $15,000. During the news conference Monday, attorney Alec Bland and Ronnie Richer announced that they were representing the Smith family. We're going to hire experts who are going to come into the case with a fresh set of eyes, with an open mind, without the preconceived conclusion being objective wherever the facts go. That's where the investigation will go, Bland said. He added that they will request to have the body exhumed if they find evidence that Smith did not die from a hit and run in the middle of the road, but somewhere else. Said pre and post-death communications between different people could yield some information. And that's a really good thing too, because if you have a case that is very controversial or you're reopening a case, it's always good to have another set of eyes look at that to give a fresh perspective. I do that many times at work. I might do a specific project. I have something that might require a lot of visuals, and I'll take a step back and ask one of my colleagues, or maybe ask, a few of my colleagues, what do you think? Do you like this? Do you think I should change this? Do you like the layout of this? It's always good to get that active feedback and some other set of eyes. I do that as well too. If I'm typing something maybe to my boss and I just want to have it all kind of lined out and hammered out before I send it, I'll have someone come over and say, "Hey, what do you think of this? Do you think this is okay that I wrote this? How would you perceive it?" So it's really good, and I like what they're doing here to get some fresh eyes on this. The renewed investigation is not an Alex Murdaugh 2.0 or any Murdaugh 2.0. This is Stephen Smith 2.0. It's all about Stephen. Our job is our job is not to find out who did it. That's not what we do. We're not law enforcement. This is not a criminal case, a lawyer said, adding that they are just trying to help Smith's grieving mother find answers about her son's death. So I'm not going to read too much more because it's just more follow-up about Alex Murdaugh's case, but you're getting kind of a feel of what's going on here. I do want to pull up a attorney for Stephen Smith did speak, and I want to play this video, and then we'll read through the FBI letter that was sent from Sandy Smith to the FBI regarding her son's death. So let's pull up this video and watch this.
The mysterious death of 19-year-old Stephen Smith. So Smith was found dead on a Hampton County, South Carolina road back in 2015. And his death was initially ruled as a hit and run. There was no vehicle debris, no skid marks on the roadway, or any injuries consistent with him being actually hit by a vehicle. Many people were led to believe that something more nefarious happened to young Stephen Smith that day. Now, 8 years after he was killed, Stephen Smith's death has been officially characterized as a murder.
Wow.
Litigation firm Bland and Richter, who represents Stephen Smith's family, posted this major update to their Twitter account and to their website, saying, quote, "Breaking news, SLED considers Stephen Smith's death a homicide.
Wow.
We're committed to finding out what really happened and getting the peace and justice the Smith family deserves." Now, this update comes just days after Buster Murdaugh addressed the rumors and the speculation being told in docuseries and articles claiming that he was involved with Stephen Smith in a sexual romantic relationship and that he could potentially have had something to do with his death. All rumors, of course, all speculation.
Be careful with that stuff.
Buster spoke out and responded in part saying, quote,
say that
"This has gone
stuff.
on far too long. These
Allegedly.
baseless rumors of my involvement with Stephen and his death are false." The statement goes on to further deny any involvement in Stephen's death and ask the media to stop publishing rumors about him. Now, I want to be clear here. Buster has never been officially named a suspect. He has never been charged in the case. And according to Stephen Smith's mom, the Murdaughs have been heavily involved in the case since the beginning. Take a listen to some of what she told us.
His body from the road, and that was about 9:30. I seen me and my daughter and my son, Chris, seen Alex and Randy Murdaugh at the scene. When Joel was at the sheriff's department, him and Stephanie were at the sheriff's department. I was on the phone with Joel, and Joel said, "Hold on, Randy Murdaugh's calling." And so he said, "That was strange." And I said, "What was it?" He said, "Randy Murdaugh called and wants to help with Stephen's investigation."
I want to bring in now a very special guest. He's joining us from Columbia, South Carolina, where he practices law.
Real quick, O'Brien, I got your email. Thank you so much. I'll take a look at that after. Thanks for giving me that heads up.
He is the attorney representing the family of Stephen Smith, Eric Bland, back on the show. Eric, very good to see you. And first question, just how are you doing? You're recovering from a surgery. For those who may not have seen, I know you've made some posts on Twitter. How are you feeling this morning?
Good morning, Julie. Thank you for having me on. I had knee replacement surgery a week ago, and I've had a couple complications, but I'm happy to be here and happy to be alive. And yesterday was a really great day for the Smith family. You know, this mother has fought basically a fight alone for 8 years because she knew that her son was not killed by a vehicle. She knew that there was a homicide that took place, and she was screaming and screaming, and she didn't think anybody was listening. But the state of South Carolina was listening. I received an extraordinary phone call from Chief Keel yesterday afternoon, who told me that it's the state's official position.
It's Chief Keel, he's the chief of SLED, right, Eric? He's the chief of SLED, Mark Keel.
Yeah, sorry, yes. Chief of SLED. Yes. He did not die as a result of a vehicle manslaughter homicide, and that is huge. He also offered the manpower now to this case that was originally diverted over to the Murdaugh murder case. He's committed to partnering with us in the exhumation of Stephen's body to determine the cause of death. And he's going to send his experts along with our experts to have the forensic analysis done. He believes that there's people that are should be willing to talk now that Alex has been convicted of murder, and that there's a small group of people that have knowledge about what happened. And it's very encouraging.
Oh, absolutely it is. I mean, this is really, really big. And tell me, Eric, when you were talking with Chief Mark Keel, the chief of SLED, did he use the word murder in his conversation with you?
No, he said that it was clearly an intentional killing. He used the word homicide. He said that it was the cause of death was not as indicated on the death certificate or by the pathologist, which is extraordinary. It's essentially stating that, you know, a governmental official for 7 years had just got it wrong on the death certificate. And I don't know if you know, but at the time there was a high conflict between Highway Patrol and SLED and the pathologist as to the cause of death. Everybody realized exactly what you said in the intro. You know, there were no skid marks. There were no debris from the car. There was no markings on Stephen showing he was hit by a bumper of a car. All the things that would indicate that somebody was hit by an automobile on a road. Everything that existed at the time of death showed that Stephen was killed somewhere else. Julie, his shoes were loosely tied and they were not blown off. Now, you can imagine on a country road, if somebody's driving 40, 50, 60 miles an hour and you're struck by an automobile, you're going to have your shoes blown.
Real quick, I just want to do an acknowledgement here. Kristen Brown has become a new channel member. Let's give her the appropriate membership tone.
I got you, homie.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your membership. Look, if anybody wants to support the channel, you can go down and hit that join button. I have monthly memberships, and all of those memberships, all the money gets recycled back into the channel to help this channel run, because streaming services, all that fun stuff, making thumbnails all cost money, but it will help run this channel. And if anybody would like, you go down and hit the super chat button down there as well, or send a super sticker. It helps the channel and helps, like I said, just really helps put all that money back into this channel and make it run. So I do appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for that membership.
Blown off. There's going to be other debris. Clothes are going to be ripped. There were very little abrasions on his body. It defies credulity.
Sure. And tell us more, please, Eric, about the initial autopsy results, because my understanding is that there might have been some blunt force trauma to Stephen Smith's head, seeming like perhaps he was beaten to death and perhaps his body was just dumped in the middle of the roadway, making sense of why there are no other indications that this was, some type of a vehicular homicide.
Yeah, correct. Initially, they thought it was a gunshot wound. They did a GSR test, a gunshot residue test, to determine, was he shot? There was no, obviously, gunpowder or anything like that. And there was some blue flaking on the back of his head, which we believe may indicate it was a baseball bat. it's easy to match that up with and determine if it's a metallic car paint or whatever. It was not car paint. Yes, he bled on the road. If you see some of the autopsy pictures, they haven't been released, but he did bleed on the road. But that's often what happens with a closed head injury when the person is finally rested. The other thing is, was he put in the middle of the road so that another car would run over him? Or was he actually hit again by another car? All these things have to be determined.
Sure.
Interesting. It really is
just to
interesting.
have the state come out finally for this mother and say, your son was killed intentionally by human hands.
This is big news, as you know, Eric. And for the Smith family, our hearts go out to them. Most certainly people all around the country, really the world, have become interested in this case because it is so mysterious, and perhaps something very nefarious did happen to Stephen Smith. That being said, now I know that your family has chosen to represent the Smith family, not taking any money for the representation and leading the charge on an independent investigation. Stephen Smith's body is set to be exhumed. How is this going to go now with SLED saying, okay, look, we believe somebody intentionally killed him? Are they going to be participating in the exhumation? What's going to be the process, if you know, please, Eric?
Yeah, Julie. Chief Keel originally said, look, we don't think you have to exhume the body. We agree with you that he was killed by human hands and it was a homicide. We believe we do, because we want to change that death certificate from being a vehicular homicide to being killed somewhere else, and it'd be a murder charge. So we believe the pathologist report has to be changed, and it can only be done if there is a finding by credentialed experts. And Chief Keel understood and said, we will be with you. We want to protect, meaning the Smith family wants to protect the chain of evidence, because we want the state ultimately to prosecute whoever is responsible for this. Right now we were trying to find out what happened. Well, now we know that at least the state views it as a murder, but we still have to find out how it happened. And then once we find out how it happened, we have to find out who did it. So the state has agreed to share information with us, and we've always said in my first press conference, everything we obtain, we will be transparent. We are transparent with the money that was raised on the GoFundMe campaign, and we're going to be transparent with any piece of evidence that we obtain, because we think it's important ultimately, because it's going to be the state that's going to have to prosecute who's ever responsible for this unfortunate crime.
Yes, and to that point, Eric, I wanted to ask you about that, please, the GoFundMe. Sandy Smith, this heartbroken mother, has resorted to that, prior to this big news of the change in the characterization of how Stephen Smith was killed. And so she was seeking the public's help. That GoFundMe was very successful. I believe around $80,000 or upwards of that was raised. What happens now with that money? Because really, if this is a state investigation, this should be state funds being paid out to do the second autopsy or whatever other investigatory work needs done.
These funds are going directly into our experts. We have hired in the process of hiring our own forensic pathologists, our own investigators. We are going.
And that's what we talked about, having that second set of eyes, having someone go over and look at the evidence again and seeing if they can see something that might have not been seen in the initial investigation.
As we committed to the GoFundMe campaign, doing a parallel investigation. Look, in the Satterfield case, in Gloria Satterfield, I and my partner, Ronnie Richter, provided all of the evidence to the state that we had obtained in early September 2021, which led to Alex being charged for Gloria Satterfield's $4.3 million theft. There's no reason why private citizens can't parallel do their own work and provide information. And so that is why we raised the money. And all this money is going to go into this investigation. It's not going to Sandy Smith. You won't see her house get painted. This is a woman that works at a school. She doesn't even have the internet. And, you know, she didn't have the resources to do what we're able to do now. I was always willing to give my time, but you know, Julie, the cost of this type of exhumation.
Let's get to 50 likes.
The body's going to have to be
We're at
transported
44
to
right now. Just
state
smash
because
that like button.
that is the expert
50.
that we've
50 is a
chosen.
nice magic number.
The costs
nice
are
round
extraordinary.
number.
Can you tell us who is going to be doing the second autopsy?
Smash that like button.
No, I can't. Other than I think it's going to be somebody from New York City. We've hired Dr. Dupree from Columbia,
Thank you.
South Carolina, who's going to help us in the process.
50.
There's going to be 2 or 3 forensic
Need
pathologists
100.
that we're going to have there, so that there's
100
no
would be really good.
dispute. And the state's going to be there at the exact same time, so the chain of custody of evidence will be preserved.
Right. That's certainly key, as you know. Attorney Eric Bland, always great to talk with you. I know we're going to be talking more and more as the weeks and months go on. Every good wish to you in your recovery and certainly to the Smith family in their quest for justice. Thank you kindly.
I always like appearing on your show. You're kind and you're thoughtful and you're well informed.
Thank you so much. Well, that means a lot coming from you. Speak soon, Eric.
All right. Let's back up the camera. We're just going to acknowledge this. Thank you so much, Christine. A $20 super chat. And she says, happy belated 45, Brian. I appreciate that so much.
Great cash, homie.
All of the money goes back into the channel to make this run and to create a better experience for all of you. I do appreciate that.
Great cash, homie.
Appreciate it. Is everybody sick? Everybody's asking how everybody's feeling. Christine, thank you so much. That was very kind to you. Yes, lots of telling in that interview. You know, going back, looking at the evidence with a fresh set of eyes. This is strange. To me, it's just, I don't know, for authorities to open this back up and being so close and so connected to the Murdaugh family, you know, it just starts to make you think a little bit and has to open your eyes. And now, you know, looking at Stephen Smith's death and being overturned and ruled a homicide, it's like, all right, what's going on here? You know, there's a lot going on. It's a lot of weird stuff. So let's get to the letter that Sandra wrote to the FBI, and then we'll finish it out with one more video from Stephen Smith's family attorney when they spoke to Court TV, and we'll close that out. Maybe we'll do a little hangout at the end. But let's get to this letter because it is a 4-page letter, and I want to read through some of this with you guys. I'm not sure if anybody has read it yet, but let's take a look. I'm just going to make sure the screen is good here. What do I want to do? Bring me down here. I'm just trying to get the best possible view for you guys. Let's widen this a little bit. Oh, that's too wide. We'll go up 1. Nope. I think 33 is good. You guys see everything all right? I think everything looks good. Okay. So Sandra Smith, this is on September 28th. Have you guys seen this? Have you guys read through this letter? Let me know in the chat. Have you seen this or read through it? Let's see what everybody says. I do. I have so I have Cash App. I also have PayPal as well. Does anyone know if you can use PayPal or Venmo with YouTube? I'm not sure. Yeah, 2016. This letter is from Taking Notes. Yes, this is the 2016 letter. So Heather says that she has seen it. 1 year later, I have not seen this. And Chris is saying that he hasn't seen it at all. So this is good. We're going to be able to read through this and see what we got. So this is Sandra Smith's letter to the FBI back in September 28th of 2016. Now, remember, she's going to implicate the Murdaugh family being involved in Stephen's death. I am not saying that, but this is what she said in this letter. So it says, "Dear sir or madam, my family is desperate need of your help. My 19-year-old son, Stephen Nicholas Smith," love that middle name because that's my middle name, Nicholas, was murdered on July 8th, 2015 in Hampton County, South Carolina. It has been apparent from the first week of this investigation that the authorities are covering up crucial evidence, and we no longer trust them. Stephen's father, my ex-husband, who is now deceased, oh boy, she's got a lot on her plate, and I were first told that our son was shot to death after running out of gas in the early hours of the morning and exiting his vehicle. Later that day, we were told it was a hit and run. Finally, investigators determined he had been beaten to death. He was attacked so violently that the entire side of his face was rebuilt with putty for his funeral. That's awful. He was attacked so violently that the entire face was rebuilt with putty for his funeral. Hampton investigators asked at the time to continue to publicly say it was a hit and run. They claimed they didn't want the killer to know they were out looking for him. There have been named no suspect's name. The first call that my family received after the murder was from authorities notifying us of Stephen's death. The second came very quickly the same morning from solicitor Randolph Murdaugh. In fact, he called my ex-husband's cell phone as he waited in the police station for a positive identification. As we waited, he said he heard of the case and was interested in working pro bono as a liaison between the family and the investigators. That's really strange. Stephen's father accepted the offer, although we were unsure why Mr. Murdaugh wanted to help us. We also weren't sure how he found out so quickly, even before it was confirmed to be our son. Surprisingly, after a few interactions, Mr. Murdaugh stopped returning our calls. That's really strange. Within days of our son's death, Stephen's twin sister, Stephanie, was approached multiple times by peers telling her that solicitor Murdaugh's nephews were responsible. As a family, it was suspicious to us since he had taken such an intimate interest in the case and then had become unreachable so quickly. These suspicions reached new heights weeks later when Stephen's older brother, Chris, was approached at work by a young man he did not know. This person told Chris he was present when Stephen was murdered and witnessed everything firsthand. So you would be like, what would they call that? That would be like, would that be an accessory after the fact, that you didn't go to police, but you were there during a murder? Or no, it wouldn't be accessory after the fact. You would be, what would they call that? Someone that's there actually during the, you could be literally potentially held for murder, not telling anybody. He said that solicitor Murdaugh's nephew, Buster Murdaugh, who graduated with Stephen, beat Stephen to death with a baseball bat. He claimed it was because Stephen was gay. Stephen was, in fact, gay. The witness said they were out smashing mailboxes when they came up upon Stephen, and Buster seized the opportunity. The young man told Chris that Buster threatened to kill him if he ever spoke up. This information was given to investigators, but nothing ever came of it. Wow. In reviewing a copy of the 9/11 dispatch log, which I have enclosed, tab A, page 2, I found that first responding officer Michael Bridges arrived on the scene within a minute of 911's dispatch, even though in the Hampton County Sheriff's Office incident report, tab B, he claimed to have driven around for a while trying to find my son's body. The second officer, Jason Eubanks, arrived within 2 minutes. This is suspicious to me because the area where my son was placed was extremely rural. Cops do not patrol that area frequently, and it's not likely an officer, much less two, would coincidentally be patrolling there prior to 5 a.m. They had to be in the area for that time for a reason. I suspect they were there because they already knew Stephen was there, and I suspect that Murdaughs were the ones who told him. The Murdaughs are probably the most prominent family in Hampton County. Stephen had on more than one occasion mentioned to friends and his twin sister that he was involved romantically with someone from a prominent family in the county who was hiding his sexuality. He said that it would shock people to know this person was gay. He suspected this because the young man Stephen was referring to, though he never named him. At the beginning of the investigation, officers told they would not have access to Stephen's text messages for approximately a year. They claimed they would have to send the phone to Apple to override the security features. We found that months later, the phone had never been sent to Apple. So the thing about Apple, and I do know this in investigations, they're very difficult to get them to help in investigations. I do know that. It's very hard to get Apple to crack phones. Often investigators claimed it was uncertain which department had the phone. They have since produced the phone, which they still have not sent to Apple, but they still claim they cannot access it. We feared then, and still fear now, that they have and will continue to delete critical information from the phone. Wow. It has already been over a year, and we know knowledge of Stephen's interaction by phone call or text prior to his murder. Since the murder, Buster has gotten rid of his old vehicle, which is critical because, according to the witness who approached Chris, they were traveling in Buster's old vehicle that night. It would also be critical because Stephen was found 3 miles from his vehicle on the morning of the murder. There was no blood splatter on the crime scene, despite the brutal beating, which makes it clear he was transported to that site. We believe there's DNA in Buster's old vehicle. Wow, this is a crazy letter. I think it's important to note that Stephen's wallet was found in his own vehicle and his gas cap was open, further suggesting he did not leave willingly. Tab C. Stephen was very skittish and would never have walked down a road in the dark, and it's not likely he would have opened his car door except assistance from someone he did not know, especially alone in the dark country road. This is crazy. He was even known to walk through the woods during the day and stay out of sight. His autopsy shows his toxicology reports were negative for drugs and alcohol, so I have no reason to believe that he would have done something completely out of character. Since Stephen was placed on the highway, it became a highway patrol investigation. We thought this was beneficial to Stephen, since the local authorities obviously would have their own agenda. However, this did not help our case at all. This case was mysteriously bounced from investigator to investigator without reasons or notification. This is a really great, well-written letter. I have to give Sandra kudos to her effort here, and just being very well written and well spoken in this, giving extreme amount of detail in why she thinks that this should be looked at by the FBI. This case is mysteriously bounced from investigator to prisoner. It would repeatedly get to a certain point, then the assigned investigators would bow out, perhaps not wanting to take on Solicitor Murdaugh. I was approached in September 2015 by a gentleman claiming to know about a criminal case decades ago that was swept under the rug to protect a different member of the Murdaugh family. Wow. This came at no surprise to me. I see history repeating itself with my son. No one here is trying to solve our case. Therefore, I contacted Governor Nikki Haley that same month with a plea for help. Oh, excuse me. Oof. I wrote her a letter telling her basically word for word the story I have just explained to you. She responded promptly and assigned the case to new investigators. While it's appeared to be the answers to our prayers, very little progress has been made, and they say they have exhausted their leads. I cannot fathom how that is possible. Our concerns regarding Solicitor Murdaugh and his family have not been investigated despite witness accounts, which include all alleged conversations between a schoolmate of Buster's little brother, Paul, and school officials. Well, we can't talk to Paul now, unfortunately. Those school officials were said to have discussed the statement with the student's family, not police. We have heard no further follow-up to the situation. Interestingly, according to my source, Paul was transferred from that school to a private school after the alleged statement. This is crazy. We believe Solicitor Murdaugh's influence extends to the pathologist, Dr. Aaron Presnell of MUSC, who performed Stephen's autopsy at Tab D, though Deputy Coroner Kelly Green and SLED agent Brittany Burke were both present for the autopsy, have gone on the record to state that neither made any mention of a car striking Stephen. Dr. Presnell ruled his death a hit and run. She was combative with the combative with the highway department investigator Todd Proctor regarding her finding when he pointed out that time that only trauma was to Stephen's head. He asked how she came into that conclusion, and she said it was because he was found on the road. That alone was her reason. She insisted the hit and run, despite the fact that neither of his injuries nor the crime scene supported that finding. This is crazy. The coroner disagrees with her determination. It is documented multiple times in the case file that there were no skid marks or vehicle debris consistent with a hit and run at the crime scene, tabs E, F, and G. Dr. Presnell herself confirmed to investigator Proctor. Oh. Oh God. All right. It's simply not possible that the vehicle struck solely his head. Coroner Ernie Washington informed investigators Proctor that Dr. Presnell told him she would change her report and read however he wanted it. Copies of investigators Proctor's summary notes, which documented his discussions with Dr. Presnell, I think I'm saying that right, Presnell, and Coroner Washington's, are enclosed in tabs F and G. This is so detailed. Props to Stephen Smith's mom, Sandy. Unbelievable. We desperately need your help. This investigation is being deliberately derailed. We need someone to hold the investigators accountable and access Stephen's phone. Solicitor Murdaugh is widely known, and it appears this is playing to his advantage. We need someone who doesn't care about his family name to take this case seriously. In July of 2016, I wrote Attorney General Loretta Lynch in hopes that she would and could help us, but there has been no response. I have enclosed the key documents I mentioned above, but I cannot provide copies to all the case documents I have at your request. We also have new information, which we discovered in the past few weeks, that we feel is critical to this case. However, I no longer trust investigators here. I'm holding it as I await your response. I can be reached at, and obviously that phone number has been redacted. I thank you immensely for your time and help. Sincerely, Sandra Smith. And she has all the enclosures here of a 911 dispatch log, the Hampton County Sheriff's Office incident report, SLED's crime notes, the MUSC autopsy final report, the SCDPS incident report, case file notes, investigator Proctor, and the South Carolina Highway Department, Matt case notes, investigator Proctor. I want to keep saying Proctor. Big props. There is a lot of weird stuff going on here. And that is a mother that is fighting for her child. So I commend Sandra Smith for fighting for her child to find out what happened. I'm going to give her a round of applause on that one. And there has to be some justice here. They have to find some justice to this. And this really needs to get looked into further because it's very suspicious now reading about this and studying this case a little bit more in depth. There's definitely some stuff going on. Terry Dean says she looks like a strong lady that doesn't take any BS. Wow, this is interesting. Denise says, MUSC is a medical university of South Carolina in Charleston. My husband worked there for about 8 years. Wow. Amber says, yeah, Brian, I definitely think she deserves it. She definitely does. I mean, you should fight for every family member, your child. If you feel something that is that's shady or wrong, in a particular crime, then you need to fight. And this is what I find very strange. I'm going to go back to Koberger here, that you're not hearing anything in the media from his family. You're not hearing anything in the media from his friends. I did not do this. You're not hearing anything from Koberger himself. I did not do this. So I find that very strange. There's ways around gag orders to talk. Believe me, it can get out in the media. Susie says justice for Stephen. I absolutely agree. And she does deserve it. She does deserve it. She's fighting hard. And I think there's some shenanigans going on down there, in my opinion. Mandy Joe says the effing justice system should do their job. They should do their job in this case. This case needs to be looked in. Not all cases, in my opinion, are botched like this, but there's a lot of dropping of the ball here. I definitely agree. I agree. Justice for Stephen. Much to look at what is not being said or done. And she clearly outlined that in that letter. Absolutely. Okay, let's pull up one more video here from the family attorney, for the Smith family attorney. We'll play this out, and then we're going to get out for the rest of the night here. Short show this evening. Short show.
Somebody was there. It was more than one person that done this. And somebody knows.
Thank you.
And they set him up on that road to make it look like a hit and run. I was so happy when they reopened the case. And that gave me hope, and he wasn't under the rock anymore. And with all this stuff going on, he gets more attention now. But we really don't want that attention. We just want the answers.
So well stated by Sandy Smith. We'd be better off if she didn't have the attention. That would mean that she's got the answers that she's looking for. The answers that every mother deserves. How and why was my son killed? That's the mother of Stephen Smith. Looking for just answers. Another big story in the low country of South Carolina we're talking about tonight. I want to put up on the screen what the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division released today. They sent out this note. They said, SLED's investigation into the death of Mr. Smith was never closed. It remains a homicide investigation. Progress has been made, and SLED's investigation is active and ongoing. Since the beginning of SLED's investigation, the goal has been to find out how Mr. Smith died and find the person or persons responsible for his death. To that end, SLED Chief Mark Keel has assigned additional SLED Low Country regional agents to work this case in the hopes that those who may know what happened to Mr. Smith are more willing to speak freely now than they may have been in 2015 or in 2021.
Wow.
That's fascinating. I mean, people know stuff down there. I'm sorry. People know stuff.
Yeah.
There's a million rumors, but you need people coming to you with some facts.
I agree.
And then facts that you can corroborate. and people have to feel confident that they can come forward and tell the truth and that nothing's going to happen to them. And that's what they're hoping now is the time. So let me bring in our guest joining us tonight in Charleston, South Carolina, partner at Bland Richter, LLC, and attorney for Sandy Smith. Ronnie Richter is with us. Also joining us from Charleston, South Carolina, former investigative consultant for the Smith family, Steve Peterson. Thank you both for joining me. I really do appreciate it. Ronnie, big press conference yesterday you guys had. Big, you know, this is like starting from ground zero all over again. I feel like there's a level of momentum and a level of attention now in light of what.
Let me just answer this. Was this a case cover-up or was it just bad police? I think there's a lot of that, both of that going on right now in this case. That's what I think. That's my opinion. This is the way that's looking for me.
In the Murdaugh trial, that maybe things will loosen up, trying to get some of the information.
So Christine saying, let's do a membership giveaway. Yeah, we can do that. I only have 52 people watching. So I don't know how we're going to give one away. I mean, I could set a goal. If we get to 60 likes, we can do a membership giveaway.
That you're trying to get
to 60 likes.
Yeah, I think that's the hope, right, Vinny?
Vehicle was sold.
Now we will get some momentum. Now resources are being applied here when they might have been diverted to the Murdaugh matter, and we could certainly understand the drain on resources that the Murdaugh investigation had on a small state like South Carolina. But it's Sandy's turn, and so I appreciate you, helping to shine a spotlight on this.
Sorry,
sunlight is the great antiseptic, as they say, and I do think, as you highlighted in your comments, obviously people have talked over the last 8 years, and it's just critical now that we ride this wave of momentum and that people get out in the field and they reach folks with information so we can track down the leads to finally find out what happened to Stephen.
Stephen, what are your thoughts tonight about people coming forward and speaking now that maybe weren't speaking freely before? You were, taking a look at this case and what happened, Did you get the feeling back then that, hey, people aren't telling me everything that they know?
Well, I think that's probably an understatement, Vinny. Nobody was comfortable talking back then. And when I say back then, it was only 2 years ago, or not even. It was right after the deaths of Maggie and Paul Murdaugh. Stephen was killed in 2015, and nobody seemed to really want to be coming forth back then. And this case kind of ping-ponged back and forth between the Highway Patrol and SLED, and it just kind of died on the vine by Christmas of 2015, and it sat stagnant until SLED announced after the Murdaugh murders that they were going to reopen the investigation. And yesterday's announcement, or even today's announcement, that they've deemed it a homicide. From my perspective, it's always been a homicide. So I'm glad that SLED is looking into this. I hope that they'll put forth the same effort they did at convicting Alex and give it towards Stephen, so that Sandy can get the answers she needs and that she can move forward with some peace.
Absolutely. So Ronnie, give us an idea of what you guys are doing.
So why don't we do this? If we hit 55 likes, I think Christine's going to do a membership giveaway. If I'm correct, am I correct? Is that what you were going to try to do, Christine? A membership giveaway. If we get to 55 likes, I'm just confirming that with her because I don't want to speak. I think that's what she said. She wanted to do a giveaway.
You're putting together a team. What are you guys going to do here?
All right. It is confirmed.
Yeah, so this is before we got the phone call
55
from
likes,
Keel,
and then
which I'm sure we're going to
Christine's
talk
gonna
about. But when we got engaged, it was to try to break this stalemate, right? To try to get this thing moving again. And so through GoFundMe, and thank you everyone who donated to that cause, resources were gathered, which would allow us to petition for a private exhumation and autopsy of Stephen's body to answer the first threshold question, which is what happened to Stephen. We never accepted the idea that this was a vehicular accident. All the physical evidence at the scene would point otherwise. So the first question that has to be answered is the what question, right? So through the private autopsy, And we've spoken with both local and national experts who've done this before, who've exhumed bodies of this age and have examined them. We intend to get the answer to that first threshold question.
Stephen, what are your thoughts about what happened on that road, and how would you describe, where he was found and what that area is like?
Well, it's very deserted. It's very rural. It was in the middle of the night. It's a road very less traveled.
All right.
So
let's acknowledge this. Let's acknowledge this really quick. Let's wait to see what it goes up. Christine gifted a membership away, and it was Oh Snap. Sharon is now a channel member. Let's give her the tone, guys.
I got you, homie.
And I got you, homie. Congratulations. Oh, snap. Sharon. I love that. Snap. Good stuff. Let's keep playing this out.
After we reviewed all the information that we were able to obtain, again, by the time I got involved, it was after SLED announced that they were reopening the case. So from that point forward, now it's an open investigation. So agencies are not forthcoming. They're not sharing information. They won't allow us to speak to the pathologist who conducted the autopsy of Stephen.
This is crazy.
We're trying to drag information from them, but nobody is being forthcoming in any of this. So eventually SLED began to cooperate, and we were sharing information. They shared a little with me. I shared everything I had with them. So we came up with two theories on what happened to Stephen. One, it possibly involved members of the Murdaugh family, and the other theory didn't, unless the Murdaughs got involved later on and were involved perhaps in some type of effort to cover it up.
Well, we're glad you're here.
Quite get that far. But based on SLED's information to me, we could discount the involvement of Buster and Paul because they claimed they had evidence proving that neither were in the county the night that Stephen was killed.
That's crazy.
So if theory A involves Buster or Paul, and theory B does not, if you take away theory A, you're kind of left with theory B. But there's holes in both because theory B involves a vehicle.
Let's acknowledge.
And you're right.
Let's acknowledge this. We have a gifted membership from Victorine, and Crazy P is now a channel member. Let's give Crazy P a warm welcome.
I got you, homie.
Thank you so much. You guys are kind for giving back. I really do appreciate that. Thank you. All right, let's keep playing through here.
It doesn't make sense. The shoes are left on his body. The body's positioning. I don't believe he was killed somewhere else and dropped where he was found. There was way too much blood at that scene. And without sounding too gory, if you had killed Stephen somewhere else and dumped his body there, he would have bled out before not explaining the amount of blood at the scene in the middle of the road. I can't explain his body positioning. I can't explain a lot of things. So,
the I got you, homie. It actually was a meme. It's if you here, hang on, you'll see it. Let me play this. It's from this. Watch really quick.
I got you, homie.
That's what it's from. Did you see it? It was a meme. It was like a little meme. A long time, actually. A long time ago. It's an old meme.
But based on my interviews, I interviewed what I believe to be the driver of the vehicle that may have struck Stephen. And I was convinced after my interview, this guy's involved. I relayed all that information to SLED.
Come on, man.
All right, Steve Peterson, interesting stuff. And Ronnie Richter staying with us. We've got more on this investigation plus coming up next hour. On the docket tonight in Miami, Florida, jealous supermarket mogul Manuel Marin.
Hi, I'm stylist
Might
Mimi
be it for
Cottrell
that
here in
interview.
the
Hang
beautiful
on.
DSW showroom to talk about spring trends.
Oh, let's go back.
A call for somebody.
From the beginning, was it suspicious to you?
Yes.
Why?
Because he wouldn't have been in the road. He had a cell phone in his pocket. It wouldn't be the first time he had to call for somebody, you know. And but the car was locked. He had his phone and his key in his pocket, but then he left his wallet. So if you're going to go get gas, why would you leave your wallet?
How dare you?
And he wouldn't walk. No, he would have walked through the woods. He would not have been in that road.
I don't know what happened to Stephen Smith. We've got to find this out, though, because he's dead in the middle of the road. And if it was a hit and run, if it was, that's still a crime, and that person is still out here. Still with us, Ronnie Richter. He's the attorney for Sandy Smith, working with Eric Bland, who you've seen many times on this show. Stephen Peterson, investigative consultant, worked for the family.
You guys know how Court TV started, right? Do you know how Court TV started? I bet you can't. I bet you can't tell me how it started. Let's do this. For the person that is the first person to let me know how Court TV started, I'll give them a $10 gift card. Type it in the chat. But you got to be willing to give me your address. You got to be willing to give me your address. So if you don't want to participate, don't. But if you do, I'll give you a $10 gift card. Chris Pepper got it. Chris Pepper got it. It was spawned off of the OJ trial. Yep, that is true. That is very, very true. Chris, do me a favor. I'll send you out the $10 gift card. All you need to do is email me at theopinionatedidiot@gmail.com. And I will get that out to you. A $10 gift card to Chris Pepper. Congratulations. Congratulations. And then on Sunday night, someone's going to win a mug. Someone's going to get an Opinionated Idiot mug on Sunday night. We're going to do that during the Koberger show. But yeah, Chris, after the show, just send me over your email and I will get that out to you, buddy.
Stephen, I just have to follow up on what happened before the break. You mentioned that you believe that you spoke. Did you speak with the driver of the vehicle you think who may have been there and involved in all of this?
Yes.
And when was this? How long ago?
This was maybe.
What other channels give back to the community? What other channels out there are giving back to the community? Come on. I always give back to my community. It's always good to give back.
August, maybe September of 2021.
Of 2021. So just,
yes,
okay.
Just
this
after,
is the best
so
live show.
Someone who's still in the area, someone who's still there,
show.
And you've given the name to investigators.
Yes. Yes.
All right.
I've interviewed a lot of people associated with this. Interviewed even an ex-cop who was fired for some issues, who allegedly or reportedly, according to the South Carolina Highway Patrol, took photographs of the vehicle involved. And then that officer turned them over to the Highway Patrol. When I interviewed the officer, he had no memory of any of this. And I'm like, wait a minute, how do you not remember this? How many
was Hobo
unsolved murders? How many?
Was I wrong? Let's take a look. Let's take a look. Let me go. Let's see. I love Court TV. So let me go back up to this chat and hang on. So I asked Justice for Stephen, love Court TV too. I'm just reading the chat. I want to make sure I'm straight here. I'm going to show you right here. I'm going to do a screenshot and show it to be honest to everybody. Okay. hang on. Let me save this and I'll bring up the screenshot so you guys all know I'm transparent and that this is the way that I saw it. Hang on. Just give me a second, guys, okay? I'm going to be very transparent here with my crew, just so you guys know. Give me two seconds. So I have, let's see. Let me shut this down. I have Chris. If you can see my pointer. Chris was first, and then Hobo was right here. I think we all love Court TV. No, how did Court TV start? Oh, I don't know. I mean, do we consider that an answer? OJ? I guess Chris Raggy would be the first one. He did say OJ. Yep. I would say Hobo got it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Chris. He did say OJ. We can, whatever you guys want to do. If not, I can send you out. Hobo, why don't you do this? Email me as well, theopinionatedidiot@gmail.com, and I will get a Target gift card, $10 Target gift card out to you as well, too. Okay? So we'll just settle it that way. We'll just be fair to everybody. So Chris will send one to you, and OJ will send one to you. All right? Whatever your choice, Hobo, if you want to send it out, we'll get that out to you. I'm very giving. We'll get it, we can settle that up. I'll get it out. But let's play the rest of
Dead
this.
people in the road do you guys have in Hampton that
whatever you guys want to do.
This
whoever
should
sends
stick
me
out
the
in your memory.
email.
So nobody wanted to talk about this at all back right after the Murdaugh murders when I got involved.
Wow. Well, Ronnie, hopefully things are turning around. Now, you spoke with Sled. How did that conversation go?
No, it was great. I mean, it's not every day that we didn't just talk to Sled. We talked to Chief Keel. So we talked to the state's top cop. So it was momentous for us that we weren't just being contacted by a Sled agent to say, hey, guys, we're still out here. This was Chief Keel.
She says, now they both can have one. That's very, very sweet. Oh, you guys are great. You guys are great. I appreciate all of you.
I got you, homie.
Very, very nice. O'Brien says for Chris. So we'll get some gift cards out. I just need the two gentlemen to email me, and we'll get those out for you guys. All right. You guys are awesome. Thank you.
Himself calling Eric Bland and myself to tell us, hey guys, if you're doing this exhumation of the body to try to prove something to us,
anything you want to do, buddy,
you think
anything
it's a murder and we're treating it as something else, you don't have to do that. We believe this was a homicide and we're on the case. And so again, to have that level of commitment from that level of an official is pretty reassuring that things were happening.
Hi everyone, Mark Barden here at Sandy Hook Promise. On December 14th, 2000.
So, Stephen, what are your thoughts now? Post-Murdaugh double murder conviction, right? National spotlight, international spotlight on the Low Country, this part of the Low Country, South Carolina. Do you think things are going to turn around here? Do you think Ronnie and his team will have more of an opportunity to get to the truth because maybe people start speaking?
Well, because Alex is gone, doesn't dissolve the influence that the family still has down in the Low Country. There are still Murdaughs that are out there and have a lot of influence. So maybe Alex is not personally out there doing stuff, but he has brothers and so forth who are involved. And I'm not saying they're involved in anything criminal. I'm not saying they would do anything to obstruct anything, but people are afraid because their livelihoods depend on the arrangements and relationships that they have. So people still may be reluctant. I hope not. When they were looking at Alex or the Murdaugh murders before they had named Alex as their suspect, the state had impaneled a grand jury. And I was told that the Stephen Smith investigation was going to be part of that grand jury. So I put together a list of what I believe to be in the Stephen case, remember, I had nothing to do with the Murdaughs or any of that. I'm purely looking at Stephen. I'm just trying to find answers for Sandy. And I gave a list of witnesses to SLED, and I said, put these guys before the grand jury.
Me too.
Get them on record.
We're going to
Lock
follow
them
this
in
case.
now.
We're going to keep our
Because
eyes
if
open
we
on
can
this
prove
case.
that any one of their statements are false,
We're going to keep
then you've got
following
a
this
charge
case.
against somebody.
It's very
And
important.
if you charge the people that are on the periphery, you'll be able to get somebody to roll. And at this point, almost 8 years after the Stevens death, you're going to need a cooperating witness.
Absolutely.
All right, I'm going to end that just because there's music and I don't want to get bounced out. But we are coming up on the 2-hour mark, guys. I'm going to probably end this soon. I have a very early day at my day job tomorrow, but we will be back on Sunday, I promise. And we're going to get back into Kohberger on Sunday. There is a lot to cover. I want to actually pull up a lot of the comments that we got from the Subconscious Mouth segment. There's been a lot of comments. We'll pull those up. We'll go through them. We'll discuss them and, go from there. But I'm going to keep following this case. I think it's important to keep following this, get the word out there, get some investigation, see how the investigation goes. Now that this has changed and been ruled a homicide, it definitely seems like there's some weird stuff going on in and around that. So, we'll have to keep our eyes on that one. Hobo saying, good night, Brian. Thanks for the same, but put the resources back into the channel, please. Absolutely. Whatever you would like to do. If you do want the card, just reach out to me. I'll get that emailed. I'll get it mailed out to you. MRG is saying, congrats on another show. Thank you so much. One day we'll make you quit your day job. That's my goal, hopefully someday, is to do this part-time and work a part-time job. But it's going to take a lot. It's going to take a long time to be able to get in that position. But we'll get there. And let's see, before everybody runs out of the room, don't go anywhere yet. I have a couple of things before I end the show. Don't run away. We're not done yet. Let me get to some of the chats real quick. Hunter Soup says, great live, Brian. Everyone else, I definitely come back whenever I can. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Everybody's saying good night. Don't go anywhere yet. Don't go anywhere yet. This is the link to the next live show. Victorina saying she loves this channel. Well, I love you being here. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's the link for Sunday's show. When the show ends, click into that. Hit your reminder button. So when I go live on Sunday, you guys will all be over there. Also, another thing that I need you to do is start supporting the Facebook group, because a lot of you might not be getting my notifications about when I go live. I will consistently post in that Facebook group when I go live. So I'll usually do like an hour countdown, or I'll let you know when I'm going to go live. And I actually, if you guys were part of the group, I did a sneak peek video on the other day just for Facebook subscribers. So you guys you're going to want to get in there, because I share content before it comes out with people in the group. So you're going to want to do that as well. Let's see. Best people in this channel. I completely agree. And again, yes, Facebook group is up and running. I appreciate that. And also, so format, just want to run by the format with you guys and make sure you guys are going to like this. Sunday nights, open forum. We'll talk Stephen Smith. We'll talk Kohberger. We'll talk any other relevant case that's going on. Okay. So Sunday nights is free forum or free floating. Tuesday nights are Tuesday night serial killer. We're going to go back and look at infamous serial killers and discuss that and talk that. Thursday nights are going to be Throwback Thursday, where we go back and look at cases like Grant Amato, Stephen Daniels. The first Thursday I'm going to do is on Stephen Daniels. We'll take a look at that case and go through that. So Sunday night's going to be incredible. That usually pulls the largest crowd in here on Sundays. I can't wait to see you guys on Sunday. I appreciate everybody getting in here and checking out the show tonight. Consistently, it was 50 people, pretty consistent. We want to try to get this up to over 100 people every night. That is my goal. 100 people every night. The channel is growing. I'm very, very happy in the position of the channel. I'm very happy to see the most consistent people here every night. Do 3 nights a week feel okay with you guys? Should I stream less? Is 3 too much for everybody to make? I'm just curious. Let me know in the chat before we go out. Do you feel like 3 nights is good, or is it too much? Because I could cut down to 2 if Victorine wants more. I wish I could. I have a regular day job. I get up very early. 3 works. Okay. I just want to make sure. And look, I understand not everybody can make every show, but what I'm trying to do here is build the consistency of at least 100 viewers a night. And when we get into those Sunday nights, sometimes you guys have seen it. We've been to 200, over 200. So I just want to keep that consistency, as I want people to know this is a live show. This is a live channel. 3 nights is awesome. Great. 3 works for everybody. Great. 3. Okay. Let me ask you another question. What I'm doing is I'm dropping videos on my off nights. If I drop a video, is 5 p.m. good for you, or a later time? 5, 6, 7 p.m. What's a good time for you guys to go back and watch a clip if I drop it? Yeah, we're going to get into that. Jody Arias will do. I'm just going to wait really quick. 5 p.m. okay on off nights? If I drop a video, can you guys go over and watch those? I actually did a really cool, I'm excited. I'm just waiting for YouTube to approve it, but I did a really cool video the other day, and I don't want to spoil it, but I'm hoping that it will clear, and I'm going to drop it on Sunday. Let's see. Oh, did it clear? Did it clear? Hang on. If it cleared, I'm going to be excited. It's still not cleared yet. I'm hoping it clears by Sunday. They have to manually review it. If it clears by Sunday, the video on Sunday will drop at 2 p.m. It will drop at 2 p.m. and you guys are going to want to watch that video. Hopefully on Sunday. It's going to be a video that I did the other day. I'm really proud of it. And actually, if you were part of the Facebook group, you would have saw a sneak preview of that video. But we're at the 1:58. We're coming up on 2 hours. I'm going to end the show right now. I will see you guys back on Sunday. I look forward to seeing all of your smiling faces all the time. I wish I could see all you guys. Brian, I love the music tonight before the countdown. Yeah, that's kind of my 5-minute countdown, chill. I kind of get, things moving. But I do have a new intro, a minute countdown intro. You know how I play the soft music? I'm still going to keep the techno theme, but it's going to be all animated and stuff like that. And it's going to look really good. I have a guy actually working on that for me. So hopefully we'll see that soon. All right. We are officially, let's wait 1 more minute, because I like to round things like right to 2 hours. So we're going to hang out in the chat a little bit. Everybody's saying their good nights. It's nice to see all my moderators, all my channel members over here. You guys are flipping awesome. You guys are so great. And we'll wait another about 45 seconds, and then I'm going to call it. We'll call it a night. We'll call it a night in about 30 seconds. Thanks, all my moderators. You guys, it's awesome. You're making the channel grow. I love it. And we're getting close to 3,000. Look at that. We're getting close to 3,000. So everybody, we're going to bounce out. We'll call this one a show in the bag. I appreciate everybody. I love all my channel members, all my moderators. You guys are fantastic. And I will see you back here for Sunday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Goodbye, everybody. Have a good night. See ya. Bye.